Ah, Argentina, Argentina, dear Argentina, the land of tango, soccer, empanadas. An asado once again splashes across the front pages of the international press. Friends, the last few days have been absolute chaos in both politics and finance. A true roller coaster in which libertarian President Javier Milei has faced his toughest moment yet, but also scored what could be his biggest political goal so far, one assisted by none other than Donald Trump. Think about it. The US government has just announced that it will do whatever is necessary to support Argentina. Milei publicly expressed his gratitude to Treasury Secretary Scott Besant and to President Donald Trump for their unconditional backing of the Argentine people. Besant, the all-powerful Treasury Secretary, put it bluntly: the United States will not let Argentina fall, whatever it takes. These words immediately bring to mind another famous phrase you probably remember well: Mario Draghi's legendary "whatever it takes" pledge as president of the European Central Bank to save the euro at the height of the financial crisis. Just those 3 words from Draghi were enough to calm markets and stave off disaster. And now, similar words are being directed at Argentina, a country that's been grappling with serious challenges for months. Because let's be honest, nobody ever said Milei's shock therapy would be easy, much less that results would come overnight. Currency problems and doubts over debt sustainability remain. The ruling party hoped to shut down these concerns with a decent result in the September 7th provincial elections in Buenos Aires. The problem? The results were a disaster. Peronist Governor Axel Kicillof defeated Milei's coalition, La Libertad Avanza, by about 14 points. And this wasn't just any province. Buenos Aires represents 40% of Argentina's voters, and Kicillof is effectively the leader of the opposition. Milei himself had turned those provincial elections into a de facto national referendum, and he lost badly. The fallout was brutal. Markets sank, bond yields soared, and the dollar surged. After Milei scrapped the infamous currency controls earlier this year, the peso was left to float between 2 bands set by the central bank. But in recent days, the dollar hit the upper band 1,475 pesos per dollar, even broke through to 15,515 pesos. And remember, this is happening while the dollar is weak globally. So it's not about dollar strength, it's about peso weakness. And containing that peso freefall isn't free. To stop the peso from collapsing, the central bank has only one tool: burning its dollar reserves to buy pesos. And lately, they've been burning through those reserves fast. If reserves were to run out, Argentina would be left without the dollars it needs to pay for imports or foreign debt. The peso would collapse into freefall, potentially triggering a default. That's why so much now depends on external support. Enter Trump and Besant. According to them, the US Treasury is ready to do whatever it takes to keep Milei from failing, because if his project collapses, it would give ammunition to leftist politicians across Latin America to claim that capitalism and alignment with the US don't work. So what does this emergency rescue plan actually look like? Several ideas are on the table. New swap lines allowing Argentina to exchange pesos for dollars, direct US purchases of pesos or Argentine bonds, and potentially a draw from the US Treasury's Exchange Stabilization Fund. That fund has been used before, for example, in 1995, when Bill Clinton sent $20 billion to Mexico during the tequila crisis, with much of it drawn from this same mechanism. For Argentina, press reports suggest a package in the range of $20 to $30 billion, though nothing is official yet. That figure makes sense. Between now and June 2026, Argentina must service roughly $20 billion in debt. Much of it in bonds governed by foreign law, meaning default would have real, immediate consequences. But such help wouldn't come for free, just like in 1995, when Mexico had to pledge oil reserves as collateral. Argentina may need to offer up assets, most likely resources like Vaca Muerta, the world's second-largest unconventional gas reserve, as well as lithium, copper, silver, and gold. These could serve as guarantees in a repo-style deal. Argentina hands over assets as collateral, gets fresh dollars, and must later buy those assets back with interests. Lose them. In other words, Milei would effectively be pawning Argentina's crown jewels to buy time. So why has Argentina been pushed to this point? On the surface, the fundamentals don't look terrible. Inflation has dropped from 25% to under 2% per month. The primary fiscal surplus is still about 1% of GDP. Poverty levels are at their lowest since 2018, and the trade balance has been positive for 2 consecutive months. Investment and consumption are up, despite public works being completely frozen. But the real problem lies in confidence. Investors fear that the Peronists could return to power and undo Milei's reforms. This fear exploded after their strong performance in Buenos Aires. The result? The country's risk premium nearly doubled, and dollar demand went wild. Political instability hasn't helped. Milei's coalition has fractured, with lawmakers defecting over corruption allegations. His relationship with Vice President Victoria Villarruel has collapsed, undermining his ability to negotiate. And his heavy-handed intervention in currency markets contradicted his promise of a free float, raising questions about his credibility. Milei also gambled on winning the Buenos Aires election by burning through reserves and borrowing at sky-high interest rates to stabilize the peso and bonds beforehand. The plan backfired. He lost badly, and now faces a midterm election in which the outcome looks much tighter than polls once suggested. On top of that, inflation, a central issue in recent years, is no longer people's top concern. Only about 15% of Argentines now cite it as their biggest worry, compared with 60% under Alberto. Milei successfully slashed inflation, but at the cost of strangling growth. And now, voters seem tired of the sacrifice. In response, Milei has tried to sweeten the mood with a modest spending bump and temporary removal of export taxes on grain, hoping to boost the economy ahead of the October 31st deadline. Whether that will be enough to change the electoral tide is anyone's guess. But for now, one thing is clear. Milei has placed a big bet on Donald Trump, and Trump seems willing to return the favor. Will this help save Milei's presidency, and at what price? That remains to be seen.